Yo, what up guys? Today we're going to be reacting to Path of Exile 2, a game I've been personally waiting for years to come.
It seems the old ways still hold some power.
Come at me!
It looks like it's just showing the old Path of Exile right now. Maybe this is a little bit different, but that could just be the setup. The skill bar over here. And the bottles might look a little different, but I can't remember. This looks very similar. Whoa. Fucking much better, dude. This is cool. I hope this is the game. I got fucking fooled.
Path of Exile 2 is basically our next generation action RPG. And one of the things we really wanted to make sure that we were doing with it is to make the action combat really, really excellent. We just want to make sure that anyone playing the game, you can play it like an action game, feels fun to play. We've added things like dodge rolls and like hack canceling, things like this. And it just means that the game just feels a lot better.
Guys, I'm a personal huge fan of the dodging that you do physically yourself. That's in a lot of games. There's nothing special about that so far. Also, I am a fan of the auto dodging, like in World of Warcraft too. I kind of like a combination of both. Let me know in comments about how you feel about that.
Better than it previously did, as well as everything else that you'd expect from a sequel to Path of Exile.
One thing in particular that sets Path of Exile apart is obviously the depth, but in the itemization systems, crafting systems, but also the sheer number of quantity of monsters, encounters.
Holy shit. I don't know about you guys, but I didn't even know there was crafting in Exile number 1 just because Path of Exile number 1, just because freaking it wasn't that important. I would just find everything I needed. Actually, I kind of do know there was actually a little bit of crafting that you could do with maybe like gems or something. I kind of am remembering a little bit of that.
We have over a decade of content that is going to be available in Path of Exile 2 as well.
For Path of Exile 2, we really want to keep the mechanics from Path of Exile 1 that are great, but we can now have the opportunity to rebuild them or restructure them in a way that is easier to understand and much more accessible for someone coming at it for the first time, and keep that depth there.
I don't know if that's good, because part of the thing that intrigued me personally about Path of Exile is the fact that it was really hard to figure out, and my brain would go on these wild adventures like, oh my god, I wonder if I can invent something kind of new with this character.
Either hidden away or much more natural to understand.
I think there's a big difference between depth and complexity. Path of Exile 2 in some ways is less complicated than Path of Exile 1 because we've simplified the sort of technical complexity around doing things like the way you socket skills and things like that to make it easier to understand. But at the same time, we're making sure that we keep all the depth in terms of
what? It was easier. It was just fine the way before it was on the helmets and on the gear.
Character options and things that you can do. So everything is still there as far as like what can I do to build my character. It's just that it is easier to do so because you don't have to be worrying, for example, about when you're changing your items that you're going to break the way your skills are working and things like that. So I think that actually new and regular players can tolerate a lot of depth. It's the complexity that we want to try and avoid. The dodge roll actually came about because we really wanted to be able to find a way to having some skills that took longer to do than other skills. But the problem with that is that skills feel really terrible if you start them and then you can't get out of them. So we really needed a way to make that interruption be possible, and the dodge roll was a really great way to do it. We actually already had a philosophy for Path of Exile 2 boss design where we wanted to make sure that everything was dodgeable.
I hope that that means that you're going to have to learn how to dodge things instead of being able to figure out mini strategies to get around the main boss strategy. I hope they have a way to fix that aspect of the game.
But previously we were just doing that by running around. But I think the dodge roll has actually changed a lot of things, and especially because, you know, now that you can expect a player to be able to do that, it means that we can have the expectation and the balance as well.
We've done fresh design on everything. We've taken some elements from PoE 1 in terms of monsters, specific monsters, and brought them over, and kind of because they were fun to play. Like, why not replicate something that is still fun to play? But of course, it's full fresh coat of paint.
I love that they're using the history from PoE 1 because I loved the vibe I got from PoE 1. I don't know about you guys. Let me know in comments if you guys kind of liked PoE 1 because of the scary, mysterious vibe. Similar to the Diablo vibe. Those were actually the main two reasons I liked PoE 1, is because of how intricate it was to learn, and the steep learning curve made you wonder what possibilities there were. And also the vibe it gave me, and I love that they're keeping the same vibe.
There are definitely new systems. I'd say a lot of the monsters are faster, for example, which is where dodge roll helps to come into play. We have secondary AIs.
Whoa, I love that you can keep using dodge roll over and over again. I hope that that's what that means in order to catch up to creatures. You know what I'm imagining? That old game, Jak and Daxter. Where you would have to use certain aspects of your character or in the game in order to complete certain missions. For example, dodge roll your way up to the speedy creature.
Systems that allow the monsters to do skills while they were performing another skill. Much like how a player can dodge roll to interrupt a skill, a monster can now do the same thing. We have a lot more monsters doing interactions with the environment. They'll interact with the world more, a lot more spawning from things, a lot more, like in one of our areas, the Isle of Kin, we have monsters riding on top of another monster, and then when they get close, they all jump off.
There's a lot of design changes that have had to go on to take into account the way that the new skill system works.
That's kind of like when monsters would die and new worm spawns would come out of them. That kind of happened in Path of Exile 1, I believe. Just a different vibe.
So with something like the Mercenary now, we're developing how crossbows should work. We kind of really looked at that and thought, okay, how can we make crossbows just feel completely different than bows? You know, if you look at a shooter, it's like pistols and shotguns and things like that. Like, what about those makes them different from each other? And so therefore, it makes the whole experience just feel so different than what a bow feels like now. You know, you want that, like, pull the trigger and it instantly fires, you know, that kind of instant response type of thing. And I think that as we approach each different character class...
Whoa! Does that mean they're gonna add... Does that mean they're gonna add arranged, like, a pull back time for a bow? That's so cool, man.
We're thinking, like, how can we make the skills here feel so different than every other class?
For a lot of the really unique skill sets like the crossbows, which are almost basically guns, there's a lot of work that's been done in other games to make those feel great that we had the opportunity to bring into Path of Exile, and there's a lot of...
Well, then how are they gonna make it feel different from a gun?
lessons of what works well in a shooter that can work well in an RPG if you do the
They should have made guns the slowest reload time then.
work, get the animations right, get the timing right.
Or crossbows the slowest reload time but be able to pierce armor or something like that.
We've done a lot of core system changes to make it so that it feels like you've got as much control as you would in a shooter-focused game.
Or pierce through targets.
There's a lot of
Shooter-focused game? Whoa! That might mean it's gonna be like an action MMO RPG shooter from third person. But I know it's not gonna be exactly like a shooter, but it's kind of cool how they're making it that much, I guess I want to say responsive. Like a shooter game where you have to respond that fast. And I don't know if it's actually going to be a MMO. That would be cool if you did get to see other characters running around in the game.
What have other games done well that we can bring into Path of Exile that no ARPG is really built on, because they don't have the crazy level of skill variety that we've ended up having?
So we've got a live stream later today where we're going to be showing off 2 of our character classes. We're really deep diving into the mechanics, and we're really excited to show that. So if you're interested to know more about Path of Exile 2, then tune into that later today.
Hell yeah, guys. If you enjoyed that video, make sure you leave a comment below about why you enjoyed it. And if you did not like the video, leave a comment below about what I need to change for future videos. Thank you guys, and make sure, if you want to see me react to more game-related content, click subscribe below.